Alright guys, so today I'm just going to be showing you this really cool card trick, and this one is going to be a little bit more difficult than the one that I previously taught, just because I've seen a lot of you guys saying that the other one was too simple. So today this one's going to be a little bit more difficult, and anyways, here's what it's going to look like. I'm just going to start off by having you pick two cards from the deck, and I'll leave it face up. This way it's truly free of choice. Let's say we have the Nine of Hearts and the Jack of Spades. So two completely random cards. Okay, so it's face up. You can see I'm not, forcing any cards on you. And in this case, I'm just going to be leaving the names of the cards on the screen. This way you don't forget them. So again, we have the Nine of Hearts and the Jack of Spades. So all I have to do is take your two cards, mix them up into the deck, and then what I'll do from here is I'll give you one half the deck, and then I'll keep the other. So let's say I'll take the first half, split it up into two. I'll take face up cards, mix them up into the face down pile like this, square it up. This way we have a huge mess within that deck over here. And then on this side I'll take about half the cards, mix them up into the face down pile, square it up. And just like that, we're going to have a huge mess within the deck. But when I snap my fingers, you can see all the other cards return to normal except for your selections. So in this case, this trick can actually be a little bit complicated, but if you want to learn how to do it, don't forget to stick around for the tutorial. Alright, so here's how you guys can do the trick. So it isn't really all that difficult, but it can get a little bit complicated at times. And anyways, here's how you can do it. So let's say you're just going to start off by having the spectators pick really any two cards they want. It's a completely impromptu trick, which is great. So you can use like a borrowed deck or something. But at this point, let's say the spectator can go through, they can pick the cards face up. And to make it simple, let's just say they were to pick the Ace of Hearts and the King of Clubs. So, and like I said, it doesn't matter which ones they pick. And normally it would actually be best if you have two spectators. That way the spectator, if you only have one audience or one audience member, they're not going to be forgetting any of the cards. So at this point, what you want to do is take the two cards and you're going to want to put them on top of the deck, but only when it's face up. So if the cards are face down and you put them on top here, the trick is not going to work. So make sure the cards are face up. You take the cards, and all you have to do is tell your spectators, at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and mix up the cards into the deck. And as you're saying that, what you're going to do is you're going to be placing these two cards on top of the deck, but at the same time, while you're leaving them, you're just going to be getting a pinky break above the two cards like this. So fairly simple. You have a pinky break above the two cards that are in the top position. And at this point, you're going to be doing a Bowery reversal, which is really similar to an undercut. Anyways, here's what it would look like. So at this point, you have your pinky break, and you can tell your spectators that you're going to mix up the deck. And as you're kind of just misdirecting them, you're going to be coming over with your thumb, and then you're just going to be transferring this pinky break into a thumb break. So at this point, it would be just like a double undercut where you have the cards separated from the rest of the deck, but you're just going to be using your thumb, and you kind of have the cards in biddle grip. So let's say this is basically the exact same grip as a double undercut, and at this point what you're going to do is you're going to come over just like you would in any normal undercut. You take your pinky, take about half the cards, pry them off from the bottom, and instead of just transferring them to the top, you're going to be flipping half the packet over on top of your thumb break. So as you can see, we now have about the cards are kind of broken in half here. You take the deck, you take the rest of the cards, do the exact same motion, flip it on top. Now what you've done is you've transferred those cards to the bottom, and you've also flipped their position. So you can see the rest of the deck is going to be face down, while these are the only cards that are face up. So it's, like I said, it's basically just an undercut, but at the same time you're going to be concealing the motion of flipping them over. So at this point, what you're going to do is you can tell your spectators that now their two cards are lost in the deck, and it's going to be really difficult to find them. But at this point, as you're doing that, you're just going to be misdirecting them. And what you're going to do is you're going to take your pinky and you're going to be riffling down the side, and you're going to be catching a pinky break below the bottom card. So this really isn't too difficult. You just take your pinky, riffle down the side until you get to the very last card, and you're going to be holding a small break. Now, at this point, what you're going to do is you're going to be cutting the deck into two halves using the swing cut. And at this point, what you have to do is use your thumb, and you're going to come over like you would in a normal swing cut. But what you're going to do is just exclude this very bottom card. So just plant your thumb at the very base of the deck here, but not including the bottom card. So I'm not going to go too into detail with the swing cut itself, but in this case, you'd have your thumb at the bottom of the deck, not including this bottom card. And what you're going to do is you're going to do a normal cut here to swing off about half the cards. But at this point, in order to conceal this bottom card, you're going to swing cut about half the deck and push it over. And at the same time as you're releasing this bottom packet and taking it out, as you can see, I'm going to be concealing that face down, this face up card. So I'm swing cutting about half the deck over, covering up this bottom card, just like this. So as I'm taking out the bottom packet, that face up card is going to be concealed by this top packet here. And at this point, you can pass it over to the spectator and you can have them hold on to it, but don't let them look at the deck. So at this point, now that you have transferred that bottom card, so now what you have actually is in both packets, you should now have each or one of the spectator's selection in each packet face up at the very bottom. So at this point, the spectator is going to be holding on to one of the packets. You take one of them, and all you have to do is take the top half of the deck, riffle down, and take about half the packet, and you have to do a one-handed fan. And this isn't really too difficult. I'm pretty sure there's many tutorials on YouTube for it, but all you have to do is fan the cards out and flip them face up. So let's say you would take the cards, fan them face up, and as you're flipping these over, you're also going to be flipping over this packet with your left hand. So at the same exact time, fanning the cards, flip it over. It's a nice fluid motion. And at this point, all you have to do is mix these two packets. So you just fan the cards out, mix them together like this. And as you can see, I'm just kind of sticking this face down packet, which in reality, it's not really a face down packet. The only card that's face down is the spectator selection. So you want to make sure that you keep this squared up. So at this point, you square it up, stick the two packets together, make sure everything is neat. You can set it down, or you can just trade this packet with the spectator and ask them to hold on to it. And then again, you do the exact same thing. You take half the deck, do a one-handed fan. At the same exact time as you open it up, you're flipping the left-hand packet. You just kind of mix everything together. This isn't really too much of a move. You just push it together, square up the packets. And at this point, you can just push the two decks together like this, and you can snap your fingers and say, look, from this completely chaotic mess, you can see if I just snap my finger like this, at this point, you can show the spectators that the two cards that they chose are now the only cards that are still face up. So it's a really cool trick. Like I said, it can be a little bit complicated, and I hope this one is going to work out for you guys. And as always, thanks for watching.